Good morning, dear Dharma friends. Sound is okay? Question mark. I'm getting lots of different signals. It's this, it's this. How's the sound? So. Oh, it's okay. Dave, you're saying it's okay. Well, it's a bit loud. If it's loud, then you can control that at your end, turning it down. Turn down your volume. All right. Well, September the 1st, 2020. Hmm. Well, I'm really happy to be with you this morning. I'm trying yet again a different method of getting to Facebook and YouTube. Hope it works. But here we are. I'm sitting in my beautiful little house. I set my timer on the heater so that when I came in this morning, it was cozy. It is cozy. And we get to spend an hour together around the fire of the Dharma, warming our hearts. So, a brief teaching from Shantideva, who was, as I recall, a Buddhist reformer. I may be totally wrong on this, about 600 years after the Buddha. It's a teaching on the law of karma and on the deep truths of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the fact that the self is a process rather than a noun. It really is good to be here with you this morning. All mistakes that are, all the various kinds of evil, arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. These conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything, and neither does their product have the intention to be produced. Hence, everything is governed by other factors, which in turn are governed by others. In this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like apparitions. All mistakes that are, all the various kinds of evil arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. These conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything, and neither does their product have the intention to be produced. Hence, everything is governed by other factors, which in turn are governed by others. In this way, nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like apparitions. Thank you, Shantideva. And this morning, if I can get this up on the screen. That's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. Please bear with me. Ha. Let's try that. Let me see if I can get that to work. Whoops. Ah. There, I think that's it. Jim, would you nod if I have the Buddha's words on loving kindness up? Yeah, okay. So this is the Metta Sutta, the loving kindness, the teaching on loving kindness. And it's the most beloved, the most chanted, the most translated document of the Buddhist teachings. And very handy to have in our pocket in a time when there's so much fear and anger and so on. So I'm going to chant this, and I invite you to join me as you wish. See if I can get my cursor here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness. Hang on. Let's please stay muted, okay? It'd be very complex if we're unmute. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. Brought up for me images from yesterday of being at a local park with about 150 other people. And my dear friend Luna, who yesterday buried her 21-year-old son who died on Friday in his sleep. Incredible anguish, amazing. So we live here on this earth, it's so tenuous. We just don't know. We don't know whether we'll wake up in the morning. We don't know what's coming 5 minutes from now. And recognizing that, is there any choice, any sensible choice other than becoming more loving, more kind, more respectful? So let's sit. Let's do that central practice. The practice of coming alive. The practice of bringing awareness, cultivating awareness, opening awareness in the body. The more attentive, the more awake, the more concentrated we become, the more we realize that the body in our experience is actually sensations. So please let us come home to the sensations of life. Where are they the most vibrant or intense? Is it perhaps the hands? Or maybe the face? Or perhaps it's possible in this moment to allow awareness to awaken in the entirety of the body, all the way from the tips of the toes, through the feet and legs, and torso, the hands and fingers, thumbs, arms, the neck and the face and the head. And this livingness also contains the breathing. The breathing, which is your act of communion with the world. Each breath has a beginning. It has a rising to fullness, and then a decline, and then a vanishing. As we bring simple, bare attention to the body that breathes, we discover that the breath breathes itself. It's not something we need to put any effort into. Conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything. And neither does their product have the intention to be produced. Breathing is an act of nature. Rest gently into breathing. Thoughts may arise. Moods may arise. Emotions may arise. We are awake to, cognizant of, the fact of wandering mind and the trance of everyday life, the trances of personality. We are also awake to the fact that they are just that. The wandering mind is an apparition. And so for our time of practice, we simply relinquish one thought after another, one emotion after another, one impulse after another. Each breath has its beginning Notice how it comes truly out of nowhere. The body finishes one breath and then breathing goes quiet. It may be for half a second or it could be for a minute. When concentration is very deep, the breath can get very shallow. Stress is so low that there's little oxygen needed. And then a sort of hunger arises, a longing, a need. And breathing in begins. In practicing like this, we strengthen awareness, we strengthen mindfulness. We cultivate and strengthen concentration. We also practice with an intention, with a a field of loving. We strengthen love. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in each moment. And of course, sometimes there's suffering. Sometimes massive suffering, other times just that nagging dukkha of daily life. We cultivate compassion by being present with suffering, with the pain, the physical pain, the emotional pain, without flinching, without turning away, without demanding anything to be different. This love is at the core of every spiritual tradition, spoken of in different ways. One of the archetypal deities of the Tibetan Buddhist world is known as Tara. Tara is said to have come into being when Avalokiteshvara, one of the great archetypal compassionate beings, came out of deep meditation on compassion and looked around the world and saw that even after all his practice, with all his powers, his 1,000 arms and eyes, there was still great suffering in the world. And a single tear fell from his eye, and as it fell, it became Tara. Tara, sometimes called she who hears the cries of the world. And so we practice with the intention of sweet, loving compassion for ourselves, for our loved ones. Think of your loved ones, if any of them are suffering right now, hurting in some big or small way. Open to that. Think of your friends. Think of some neutral person that you probably don't know much about. There's a fellow who cuts our lawn, Gabriel. It's really all I know about him. We don't share a language. I communicate with him on my phone with Translate. Hold your someone like that in sweet compassion. And then someone toward whom your heart tends to get closed. Maybe someone who frightens you. Someone whose hatred is manifest. Holding that being in compassion. And so to all beings, to all human beings, all of the animal beings, tree beings, grass beings, beings visible and invisible. Let each breath be a prayer of peace and love and compassion. And not forgetting this being who sits here, that sits here, this living process. The one each of us thinks of as I, me, or mine. Wish yourself well. And doing whatever it is that needs to be done to prepare to open the eyes. And then with a blessing in the heart, with a willingness to honor the truth of each other's lives. Let the eyelids peel up. Make that small effort to move the eyelids out of the way and then come into seeing. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. So we have another day to practice being human beings. How loving do you think you can be today? Starting with yourself. Beautiful sunny day here in Portland. I've reduced the water to the tomatoes. Someone said to Jennifer that will increase their ripening. I hope it's true, though we have plenty of tomatoes. We have a food kitchen, a distribution point, which is less than a mile away. And I get to take produce there. And then it's distributed to over 1,100 people. So I will indulge a couple of announcements. One is, it's September. Fall classes are about to begin. My class on the Eightfold Path starts a couple of Wednesdays from now. And this class is by Doyle Banks and Doug Pullen. And there will be retreats, first Saturday of the month retreats, and much more. The fall schedule is very rich. And a thank you to those of you that have already responded to the monthly giving requests. I think it was 18 people as of a day or two ago have become first-time participants in the open-handed and open-hearted supporting of our community. So, great opportunity for the practice of dana and generosity, and for moving in the direction of, I don't have to hold on to everything. And several people, I don't think, we didn't get the number of this, but several already monthly donors have increased their amount too. So that's very helpful. So we're working to close over the year $30,000 shortfall that would be there by the end of the year. And there was plans to do it this way. In fact, the generosity of the community has been really remarkable this year, including this beautiful little house. So find ways to be generous, if not to this, then to yourself, certainly, and to your loved ones. And maybe to go through, maybe to memorize the Loving Kindness Sutra and walk through the world radiating that. There's a beautiful act of generosity. So I would now like to do and practice our ritual of inviting you to speak. I'm going to, I must get something for that window before too long, because the sun is moving that way toward the south, and each day it gets a little further back here. I have to go. So what's happening for you folks? How are your lives manifesting the three characteristics of existence, anicca, dukkha, anatta? What joys are wafting in your windows? And how is this time of COVID challenging you and providing opportunities for awakening?
Good morning. I have been reading your book, and I saw that the co-author was Laura Muzikansky, and I started looking up who she was and all the things that she had done and things. And I just this morning was looking at a thing on Medium where she discussed, well, I'll just read this. He told me to find something at Brighton Bush, an off-grid retreat center high in the mountains of Central Oregon. The class was called Mindfulness for a Happy Life. I did not know at that time the mindfulness retreat entailed meditation. When I got there, I found out it was, and this was in 2018, and she has co-authored your book. I just thought, wanted you to, maybe you could tell a little bit about Laura and interesting, busy person.
Well, Laura's a remarkable human being. Her early training was in law. She's a lawyer as well as other things. And she came upon me at a retreat at Brighton Bush and was shocked to discover that it was a silent retreat. And this, I don't know how long ago it is now, but it's at least 10 years. And she was going through a hard time in her life right then. and she encountered the Dharma, and she turned it into a life jacket. And she listened to more of my talks than any human being should, I think. And then I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, she got the idea. Why don't I? This is thinking as her. Why don't I transcribe these talks, and Robert, you can then make them into a book. And so she worked tirelessly. I mean, she can work. She can get stuff done. It kind of blows my mind. And this was, anyway, she did that. At the same time, she was working on her own work in the happiness world, the happiness project that she's created. She's written a couple of books which are manuals now for governments that would like to use happiness as one of their measures of well-being. Modeled somewhat on the Bhutan experiment, where they speak of the gross national happiness. And so she's been a mover and shaker in that world, has been at speaking at conferences actually in the Middle East and all over the world on we must bring whether people are truly happy or not into our calculations. And anyway, she proposed the book, and we then wound up working really hard on it together. A lot. Every paragraph in the book we went through together. And in addition to that, she was very encouraging of me, because at times I would get kind of overwhelmed by it, and my own resistances to writing it would come up. And so when I think I say something like this in my acknowledgments, that it wouldn't have happened without Laura, and that's true. So I give her a great bow of gratitude. She lives in Seattle, and she also organized me going up there for retreats twice a year for, I don't know, a bunch of years. And that was planned again, and then COVID came in and stomped it. But as soon as we can, I'll be doing that again to the following of people that I have in Seattle. But I'm really grateful to Laura.
I'm grateful that she got you into that, because it's a very good book. I really enjoy it.
I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it, and I think it is. I think it's important for people. Yeah. Thanks. I'm supposed to say, tell your friends, give it for a birthday gift.
I got one for each of my 4 kids.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I've read a lot of introductory books, and this just is like, very much like it tells it kind of in a very good way. I really appreciate it. I really do.
That's nice to hear. Thank you. That's a great nest you have for yourself there with those beautiful fabrics around you. It's like you're in some kind of a heaven realm or something.
It's actually a jellyfish going through a forest. It's a coniferous forest, and these are jellyfish.
I see. Makes me frightened of the woods. The jellyfish are coming.
Good morning, Robert. This is Steve.
Hello, Steve.
I want to share an anecdote. Learning from our 5-year-old grandson, Theron. So yesterday was the day where he was getting ready to start school, kindergarten, and the school district, the way they had it set up is that the families would drive through and the teacher would meet them through the car windows and pass them their Chromebooks and kind of introduce themselves and get to know the kids briefly. So the teacher did that. My son and daughter-in-law and Theron and our 5-month-old granddaughter Ivy were in the car. So the teacher was talking to Theron through the window. And the window was down. And so she talked about being excited to see him and said, are you excited to start school? And he kind of looked up at her, pushed the button and rolled the window up. Which really cracked up all the teachers who were standing there doing that. So that's a lesson for me that if it gets to be too much, I can roll the window up and just let it go by. So that's a good teaching from Theron.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
I want to try an experiment, which is just describe it. In order to facilitate those in this morning gathering who would be loath to speak or ask a question, if you'd like to send me a question or even a short sharing via email, I would do my best to cycle that back into our gatherings. So you can do that by writing to robert@robertbeatty.com, and I will do my best to be responsive to those. It might be helpful if you put in the subject line morning meditation. I am somewhat inundated by email, but that would be a way I could be alerted to those important questions and messages.
Good morning, Robert and Sangha. I have such a joy to share today. It's small, but my puppy found a new friend, and I was meditating, and then the puppy came over to play, and I've been listening and watching them play, and they're so present with each other and so joyful. I want to be able to walk through the world like.
Thank you, Kim. May it be so.
Love you, honey.
Loving you right back. Are you at the coast?
Yeah, I live in Lincoln City.
I just wondered if you were home. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I hear the ocean as the accompaniment to my meditation. I came outside this morning, which I don't often do, and am listening to the waves break on the shore and the puppies just delighting in each other.
Thank you.
Morning, Robert. It's Michael.
Hello, Mr. Michael.
I wanted to piggyback a little bit on what the first speaker was talking about having sent the book to his 4 children. And I sent your book to our 2 sons, who are, I guess, adults, chronologically at least. And then I've since kind of been fighting my natural parental urge to keep asking, well, have you read? Well, have you looked at it? Well, have you read? And I always go back to your advice that you're allowed to recommend the teachings once and then step back. And as they both go through different struggles of these times that we all are, but they're doing it. It's so difficult as a parent to see anybody, but especially your own children, struggling and feeling like you have some tools that would be useful to them, but really they have to be ready to pick them up themselves. So just thought I'd share that.
I've had a standing offer to my children and stepchildren that anytime they wanted to take a training in nonviolent communication, I'd pay for it. Not one of them has taken me up on it. I've said things like, "This will change your life. It'll make being in relationships really different and better." I am, I am the person in my role in their life, and my brilliant advice isn't always exactly what they want or need. Though, of course, then what can we do? We live it to the best of our own ability. Share it through our being rather than some other way. I'm often very struck, impressed in my relationship with children and stepkids. And those first lines from Khalil Gibran on children, your children are not your children. They are the fruits of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but they are not of you. Oof. So true. Just as the one values the arrow that flies, so also important is the bow that is stable. Oof, being a stable bow can be a challenge, can't it? Well, is there anybody sitting with something that you'd like to share before we end? So I hope you have a wonderful, mindful, loving day. Be safe. COVID is still prowling around out there. Prowling around and taking victims. So be careful, please. I'm going to unmute and we'll go out on a song. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Happy journeys, dear friends.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. That's your bro, Barb. Thank you. It's September.
Goodbye.